Hi, I'm Venus O'Hara. I make content about holistic self-love. And in this video, I wanted to talk about the illusion of busyness. Are you someone who is always busy? And is it always productive? If so, keep watching. I might have some tips for you. And I wanted to make this video today because recently I did a 40-day challenge for prosperity, and in it there were some very powerful journaling prompts. And one of the prompts was, where are you mistaking busyness for progress? And that really had a big impact on me because I thought, this is so me. I am someone who kind of gets lost in the day-to-day to-do list, and I love ticking things off. But sometimes I wonder, are those daily actions really guiding me towards the bigger picture of the life that I want to create? Also, I think during Christmas time and New Year, these are times of deep reflection on all areas of our life. And many people tend to make very big decisions in the new year after Christmas. For example, the first working day of the year is known as divorce day because people have spent so much time with their partner and they're thinking, or their spouse, and they're thinking, I can't do another year of this. Oh my God. And this is something that's quite common in family lawyers, that they tend to have a very busy day coming up. And that's not busyness, that's real work. So in general, even if you're not married, there are some very deep reflections happening around this time of year. And some of us, I don't know about you, but for me, I tend to escape in work and productivity or progress, well, not progress actually, in busyness. And sometimes I wonder, when I stop the busyness and the work, do I like my life as it is when you remove the factor of work? And I think this is something that a lot of people deal with, the reality of their personal life, their relational life, their relationships, their family dynamics, or even their solitude. So this is a very uncomfortable time for many people. And also in social media, it gives you this sense of FOMO. Everyone's got these great plans, seemingly, and not having something to go into like work, there are less emails, less interactions. Suddenly you're kind of, it can be very, very uncomfortable. And that's what it's been like for me for so many years. And I wanted to share some of my reflections on how this Christmas has been quite different for me. Well, at first I was thinking about, I was actually going to go on a retreat for Christmas. And I thought, I don't know who I was trying to prove, I think maybe proving to myself that I had a cool life or that I had a cool plan. And then just a couple of weeks ago, I just felt so incredibly heavy in my body. I needed to rest and sleep. And I thought, do I really want to go on a retreat where it's raining and cold and I'd have to get up early every morning and spend loads of money? And I thought, no, actually no. And it just felt so liberating. I could see smoke. Oh, it felt so liberating to cancel that and then decide that I'm okay with having no plan. It was really a big deal for me. And it might sound like a simple fact, but to be alone on Christmas Day or even New Year's Day can be a real nightmare for someone. But then I just realized it's just a day. I'm giving so much importance to this one day. And I ended up having such a wonderful time with myself that I'm feeling so liberated and at peace, because at the end of the day, when you remove these factors of the relationship, the job, whatever else is going on in your life and your friendships and your social dynamics, you have to be okay with yourself. And I think sometimes busyness can take us away from ourselves because we're not really facing ourselves. And I wanted to share a couple of resources with you that could be potentially quite powerful. But if you're someone who struggles around this time of year, around Christmas, and you're looking forward to just getting back into the busyness, then I would recommend doing this thing which I talked about the other day, is this life wheel. This is something you can find online. If you just Google life wheel, and you do an assessment of your life as it is right now. And the sections are business and career, family and friends, romance, personal development, finance, recreation, spiritual, health and fitness. Once you make that score on your different parts of your life, then you can ask yourself the question, what do I need to change to actually increase that score, to make facing myself a much more, let's say, pleasant experience. So there are always parts of your life that do need work on. It's very rare that someone has, high scores on all areas. And then when you have that idea of what kind of life you want, something else which it can help is this book called Mindful Self-Discipline. And this is this is from a podcast guest that I had. And it was a very interesting book, actually. And when you think about self-discipline, I don't know about you, but I think about very strict rules. And actually, someone just sent me a message. Then very strict rules, and maybe a bit of discomfort, maybe. But this is actually framed as self-love. And he talks about, for example, you're here, your goal is there, and between you and your goal is self-discipline. So daily actions working towards your goal are the things that are going to really help you feel and reach fulfillment. And then you can assess every single action as a +1 taking you closer to that goal, or a -1 taking you away from that goal. And it's if you're into goal setting, which I think a lot of people are at the beginning of the year, this is a great way to actually start your journey. And even though it's a big book, there are lots of really nice frameworks in it, and it's quite a pleasant read. And yeah, it can help you come up with some kind of ideas and strategies about how to bring more fulfillment into your life, and also different techniques on how to reach them. Something else that I found to be very insightful and helpful over these last few days, I read this book earlier, in 2025. This is a book called The Gap and the Gain. It's a very simple premise, which is it's about making your, let's say, judgment of your own life based on your starting point to your present point, rather than your present point to your ideal future. Because when you're in that mode of thinking, I'm here but I want to be there, that's called the gap. And then the gain is what you've gained up until now. And you can really shift your mindset on how you perceive where you are right now. And that's the wonderful thing about, let's say, stopping the busyness and facing yourself, and not filling all your time with stuff. That tends to be, sometimes it's nice to do that, of course, but I think it's really worthwhile to actually take a pause and face yourself. One of the biggest challenges I had last year, actually, of facing myself was when there was that big blackout in Spain and Portugal. Had a whole day of no electricity, no internet, no way of making a phone call, and I had very little battery on my phone, and I didn't even have a power bank at the time. Now I've got those things, but I have a power bank, which is so important. But something I really missed during that time was music. And sometimes people can be, some people use that opportunity just to really go out in the street and go in and meet people and speak to people and have singing circles. But for me, it was like torture. And you have to think about, if you take away the distractions of scrolling, of internet and online connections, etc., and emails, who are you? What are you doing? It can be a very powerful practice. So this Christmas, actually, for me, I was actually cancelled a lot of my plans, spent a lot of time with myself, and gave myself so much self-compassion. I also did my own course, which is the 8 Pillars of Self-Love, and the first pillar is self-compassion. And I really held myself for who I am, where I am, everything I've been through, and just had, a moment of gratitude, because it all comes down to gratitude, because what you are living right now, even if you don't find it ideal, it's someone else's ideal, and that's, a bit of framing there. But it also made me question perspective and how we tend to judge our own lives depending on what others are doing around us. And that's something that happens a lot with Christmas. Well, everyone else has got these big plans. You're seeing all this rush in the shops, you're seeing it all on TV, and then you're thinking, what about me? I just want to be alone in my apartment and see no one. Is there something wrong with me? But it's better to have that kind of self-assessment coming from within, rather than this comparison with others. So yeah, I hope these resources you find them useful. But I think to avoid that busyness is really to think about what is the bigger picture, what are you working towards? Now, there are some times when just being busy and working through things can be okay and it's a bit of a rest for your mind. You're just doing stuff. But I think it's also good to have that moment of reflection and planning, of thinking, what is going to bring me fulfillment? And also a couple of journaling prompts that could be helpful to you if you are finding that you're not quite liking your life as it is, and you're dying to get back to work, to kind of get away from facing yourself, is something like, what is the cause of this, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the word in Spanish, of this unfulfillment? What is the cause of this reason to be so busy, and what's going to make you feel better? What have you got, something to look forward to? That's always a good thing, having something to look forward to that's not related to work, something that's going to encourage and help you flourish and bring more fulfillment into your life. And for me now, I've had a really nice time just being with myself and walking and watching a bit of Netflix as well, but also just having a lot of self-reflection. And I feel that this is the real foundation of happiness and fulfillment, is to be okay with who you are and where you are. And only solitude can bring that, and self-reflection and taking away the busyness and the distraction. And when you have that in place, everything else is a plus, and everything else can kind of help you build on that. Because I think sometimes trying to build on a shaky foundation can be problematic. I see it as ice skating. Sometimes you can just go around the rink like that, but because the blade is so fine, so thin, it just doesn't take much to actually push you over. Well, that's a bit of an analogy there. Anyway, the light is going, so I'm going to go and make some food. And I hope hope you find this inspiring, and let us know what you do to actually avoid, or if you are in a place where you think busyness is something that you use as a refuge or something to escape to. Anyway, check out my links in the description below. I've got my meditations, my book, my Substack, and my podcast, and lots of good things. Mwah! See you soon.